I've been struggling to make this video for a while. It's been on my list for a while, but to be totally fair, it feels a little bit like punching down. When I wrote that originally, I meant it as a joke. Now it feels less like a joke. A lot has changed in the last few months. A lot's been changing over the last decade, my whole life. Everything's been changing. I grew up thinking that America was the greatest country on earth because that's what I was told. And when you're told that by everyone around you, including the entire propaganda machine you grew up with, it's really hard to see past it. For whatever reason, I always wanted to live abroad, and specifically in France. And it wasn't until I lived in France, I lived in Nice, that I realized maybe where I really want to live is Paris. When I came through this city, I fell in love with it. I don't know why. I just have always wanted to live here. Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to learn French. I've always wanted to move to France. It's just been in there for literally as long as I can remember. So I don't know where it came from, and I'm glad that it was in there, especially now as an adult in 2026. And the reason that I opened it with that half joke, half not joke about punching down is because when I came here, it wasn't because I was trying to escape anything political. It wasn't because I was trying to necessarily find a better life for myself, although that was part of it. And that is what I have found for sure. When I left, there was a combination of demons that I was fleeing, hardship, struggles, and a lot of self-recrimination, a lot of blame on myself. These videos that I've seen in the past about people leaving America, why they left, how they see America now, all of those things tend to circle around what I feel like are pretty obvious at this point. There's a long list of things that have shifted over time. Others have gotten worse. Consumer debt is the one that comes to mind when it comes to things getting worse, but that has been fueled by things like gambling. It's insane. When I was back in the States, the amount of commercials I saw for AI and for gambling in crypto, although crypto's its own thing. But the classics like healthcare, physical safety, violent crime along those lines, the amount of time you spend in cars, public transportation, the cost of education, child rearing, childbirth, a lot of it orients around cost and quality of life. And it took me a long time with a number of different myths that have changed over time. I grew up in a very religious household, in a right-leaning portion of a very left-leaning state. I grew up with a lot of cognitive dissonance. I'm lucky that I spent as much time abroad as I have. I've spent most of my adult life abroad at this point, so you can take whatever I have to say with whatever grain of salt you need to. But when I initially set out to make this video, I thought, you know what, I'm going to detail some of that history, and maybe I still will. I'm working on some of that in the book that I'm editing right now. The demons that I had to overcome, the abuses of my past, the blindness to just how screwed I really was in a lot of ways. And the fortune that I have that I was bullheaded enough to get here and to make it stick. Because I have been in France long enough now to become French. I am now French American. And from where I sit, America's in some pretty serious trouble. There's some things that I wanted to share for those of you that are looking to move here, that are looking to move to Europe more broadly, maybe just to get out of the United States. Those of you that are wanting to stay for all sorts of reasons, whether chosen or otherwise. But the fact that I'm having conversations on the regular, and have been for the last year, but it's increased for obvious reasons, with friends and family who feel decreasingly safe in America, who want to leave to protect their families, who want to leave to protect their futures or the futures of their families. It's kind of disheartening, and it doesn't come as a surprise. And my hesitation again comes from the place where I realize I'm really lucky that things have worked out the way that they have for me so far, but also because like I don't want to get too big for my britches over here. Europe has its own struggles ahead of it. We'll talk a little bit more about how the vibe has shifted, how maybe Europeans view Americans a little bit towards the end of this video. But I just wanted to open it up by saying this has not been easy for me to approach, and it's not one that I even really want to approach, but I feel like it's something that I should. And again, when I wrote down the idea of doing this video, I saw somebody else do one of these and I was like, oh, I should probably, you know, talk about how my views on America have shifted. So much has happened since I first wrote those notes down. So I pretty much have just thrown this video out the window. If you are looking to move abroad, whether to France or elsewhere, one of the things that I would highly recommend is that you speak the language of the place you're going, or at least get started on it. I studied French from high school. Like I said, I've always wanted to learn it. I've always wanted to speak it. And it was so hard to find anybody to speak French with, because in eastern Washington state, a fairly rural part of the country, there were no French people around to speak with me. And the few that I ever ran into, which I think was like 2 people growing up didn't want to practice with me, I can tell you that much. Which is why I'm really grateful that today's video is sponsored by Lingoda. Partially because you're probably really busy and you need to fit your language learning into a schedule, and partially because I really do think you have to speak a language with somebody in order to properly learn it. If you're really busy, you're in luck, because not only does Lingoda have structured classes with great materials that you can go through and properly learn a language to get certified at whatever level you need to, increasingly important for getting those visas in France and beyond. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. But they really strengthen your ability to speak and comprehend by offering small class to one-on-one video lessons. I went and signed up for Lingoda a while back, gave it a try. It was super easy to get logged in, signed up, and into a class right away, because they have them pretty much every hour on the hour, 24/7. So no matter what time zone you're in and how bizarre or crazy your schedule looks right now as you scramble to figure out how you can move to France, Lingoda will meet you in that chaos by making it easy to schedule some time with a teacher who's a native speaker in the language you're aiming to learn. For me personally, it doesn't go up high enough in the French to continue my education to get to that C2 level that I probably should be at already. However, they do support those levels you will need for the visa and citizenship applications in your future. Use my link below and the code J30 at checkout to get up to 30% off their 2026 winter sale, which is going on for, I think, at least another week. If you jump on that, jump into some classes and start speaking with somebody right away, you're going to feel so much more confident by spending time really using the language before you land here and have to use it, for real in stressful situations. Thanks again to Lingoda for sponsoring this video. Be sure to use my link below, and remember, it's J30 at checkout for up to 30% off during their winter sale. If you couldn't tell, the vibe has shifted, and the vibe shift is real and is happening in Europe fairly quickly. It's been kind of crazy to see. This is not a current events channel. This channel is very much about my life, documenting it, my move abroad, the business that I've built, all those kinds of things. But it's fair to talk about as well, not only for you, if you're thinking about moving here, or if you're just curious to know what someone who's lived abroad for most of their adult life thinks about America now. It's definitely having an impact. There's a great level of uncertainty for my future. I came out and said publicly that my goals for this year I do champagne goals where I write my goals on a bottle and pop it when I make it. And 2 of them have already changed because of everything that's going on. Like I said, in the last few weeks, things have changed so much, right? So the first one was that I wanted to release a second book. I'm working on one book that we are going to release this year. Come hell or high water, we're heading for it. It was the smaller project cost-wise, so it seemed like the right one to lead with to make sure that we had everything up and running, systems, etc. And then we were going to do a much bigger project with photography, etc. I'm putting that on hold for now. I haven't said that publicly yet, but let's just wait and see. Because I feel much more like I need to make sure that I can save to support my team, to make sure that we have some liquidity in the business so that if things go sideways for whatever reason and we lose access to payment systems, for example, because that's a threat now, that we'll have the money in the bank that we need to make sure to pay everyone for 6 months while we figure out what we do next. I think that's really important. And related to that is my other goal that I'm putting on hold, which was the goal to move apartments this year. As you know, I've been in this apartment forever. I was just writing about it in my book today because Richard wanted me to clarify for those who haven't read my first book how I got this apartment. That story's in there. So I wrote a little thing summarizing it. I've been in this apartment basically for 14 years at this point, or at least I've had it for 14 years. And I'm so lucky to have it. It's very secure because of it. It's a free place to live. It won't last forever, but I'm so grateful to have it. And I would be foolish to rush off and burn money on rent when I have this. And my main goal is to save to make sure that my team is okay. I really want to make sure to save for them. I need to save for myself in the midst of that, obviously, save for all of us, but I really take that responsibility seriously. And so I've made some really big adjustments to my own plans for this year because of the uncertainty that we all are facing. It is a very global experience right now. And when I talk about payment systems, part of that's because the European perspective on America as a trustworthy ally and trade partner is, I don't know if it's evaporated, but it's definitely shifted completely. I mean, the Canadian Prime Minister's speech at Davos was one of those breakwater moments, I think, for a lot of people, or watershed moments, you know what I mean? Where there was that realization that oh wow, the quiet parts are being said out loud and the poles are shifting. There's a huge change underway for these things to be said openly as they have been. And we see that in Europe. They're calling to get away from American systems because if you're unaware, as I feel like a lot of people are unaware, Europe is heavily reliant on American infrastructure. And this makes my life a little bit more stressful in the sense that like I kind of bridge the gaps. I have an American company, I have a French company. I get double taxed as a result, which is its own thing. So I'm dealing with American accountants, French accountants, lawyers on both sides, all that kind of stuff, just for my tiny little company. It makes it sound so big and like I make so much money, but in reality, it's just the way that everything works is my worlds are very connected. So as America goes, so too it feels may my business opportunities, ironically, because that was one of those myths that took me so long to let go of, this idea that America was the land of opportunity and I wouldn't have so many opportunities here. And now I see it so differently. France has offered me opportunities for so many things. Maybe the opportunity to get filthy rich isn't as good here as it used to be in America, or maybe still is if you're in a certain category. But there are so many opportunities for quality of life, so many opportunities for just so many other things here that might just matter more than the amount of money in my bank account. That said, I still run a business, and there are still exposures to the American uncertainty that I feel very, very closely. I earn a lot in dollars. The fluctuation of the dollar to the euro hurts all the time. And now Europe is looking at moving itself away from like American systems. If you weren't aware, The Hague was held hostage to Microsoft when they froze them out of their Microsoft Outlook accounts. All these American corporations, whether it's Google, Microsoft, Apple less so right now, but we will see. The American government has a way of using those corporations against even European governments, not just European businesses. So there's a lot of uncertainty there too, because Europe has built a lot of its modern economy on things like Visa and MasterCard, on Microsoft Office, on all kinds of systems that they don't have direct control over. And we will see some increased combativeness from the European Union as it exerts its influence and its power to try and protect itself, but also to protect consumers. Obviously, the EU has been more of the consumer protector for a long time, but I think that that's gonna, I don't know how that's going to go as it escalates, but it does make things feel less certain. And especially for the little guys who don't have lobbyists, who don't have lawyers on retainer, I feel very small and very vulnerable and very easy to get squashed because I've been nearly squashed before. It doesn't really make me very happy with the situation or with the US, but there's a lot going on over there that doesn't make me very happy. There's a lot about how things are going down that don't make me very proud, that don't make me ever want to go back. I think that's kind of one of the kickers. Like so much of why I never used to want to go back to America. I didn't come over here because I was fleeing persecution or because I thought that the opportunities, like I said, were better here, even though they turned out to be much better, for me at least, over here. I came over here fleeing some demons, which I'm dealing with in this book that we're editing right now, that I've dealt with through therapy, that I've really, really worked on. So it's weird for me because honestly, even before things have gotten to the state that they're in right now, and I'll repeat, at least from the perspective that we have over here, things in America do not look good right now. And I know a lot of Americans who feel that way as well. It's hard because I honestly just never planned on coming back anyways. I'm at this place where my life here, whether it's the lifestyle that I have in Paris, which I very much appreciate, but just European living in general, a little bit slower, better work-life balance, more vacation, cheaper healthcare. I'm not worried about the kid stuff, but by and large, it sounds like it's a lot easier to raise kids here too. The quality of life to the cost of living, even if you can't really make as much money here, or the tax rates are higher, or all the kinds of things that surface in these conversations usually. I've adjusted to life here. I love my life here, and I don't even see there being space for me in America. I don't know how I would break back in. I would have to buy a car. I would sign a year-long lease. Where would I go? How would I afford these things? The idea of moving back to the States just feels unattainable at this point anyways, with the increase of the cost of everything over there and the fact that I don't earn American money in that sense. So it already felt like there was no going back in a lot of ways to begin with. And now that I'm here and I love my life here, I wouldn't want to give up what I have here either. So that's where that already was before the last, 6 months to a year of chaos. And then you track with everything that's happening as best you can because it's an absolute fire hose to drink from. And there's no appeal for me. But I don't want it to be a hopeless message. And I think what is interesting, like Bad Bunny's Super Bowl, not commercial, but it does the halftime show, actually gave me some hope because it reminded me how much I love the multiculturalism that really makes America what it is. That is a multiculturalism that is under assault, that is trying to be erased and removed. And it's tragic because multiculturalism in and of itself is something that draws me to my life here in Paris as well. Access to the food and culture, languages, people who see the world differently. Those conversations are what helped me to change how I saw the world, that changed how I saw the United States, that gives me hope for something brighter in the future. And I do think that the US will be capable of rebuilding itself after this. The US has been redefined and reborn many times before. This is not the first rodeo. As we read our history, we have a very long and very dark history. The US has done some pretty terrible things, was built on some very terrible institutions, and has had to come to terms with that more than once, and we have never fully come to terms with everything that that entails. I don't know that we will come to terms with it in this moment. I don't know what the future looks like, but I've seen our brothers and sisters in Minneapolis. I've seen so much beauty in the intelligence, the thoughtfulness, the resistance to just being told to blindly line up and obey, that I still have faith in the people in the States. And for those of you that are worried that maybe you're going to move to Europe, you're going to come visit France, and Europeans or the French are going to look down on you. When I first lived here in Nice in 2007, everywhere I went, people asked what was wrong with me because of Bush. It was shortly after the Iraq War. It was an awkward time to be an American in Europe, for sure, And I got stopped and asked everywhere I went, what is wrong with you? By a lot of different people. And that has changed. I think there's an awareness that this is a global phenomenon, that there is a rot and a corruption at the root of so many of our institutions and the people in power. It's becoming more obvious by the day, and there's, I think, a great solidarity to be had across borders between the people that make up our nations, which is nothing to say of the ridiculousness of nationalism on its own front, but that's not what this is about. The point is that if you're going to come here and visit, be kind, be polite, say bonjour when you walk into any location. Make sure that you are representing the best of us, and you'll be well received, because people here still care about other people, and we care about the Americans that we see on the other side of the lens, on the other side of the world, as victims of a corrupt and crumbling system. We're all in this together, and I don't think that you should refrain from coming to Europe if you're worried about being judged, but I do understand if you're changing your plans because of the uncertainty, because as I've already shared, I'm changing my plans as well. All that to say that I'm feeling a little bit lost, a little bit confused about like where I am in some ways. I feel more secure in my place here and my life in France than I ever have. I'm so grateful to be here. But my relation to that country that I came from across the Atlantic, to the people that I love that live there, to the hopes and dreams I have for its future, because I will never give up on America and I will never stop being an American, despite somebody in the comments, I'm sure, telling me that I don't deserve to be or something. I'm sure there's something really rude down there. Don't go hunting for it. We may have already blocked them. I think I wanted to share this in the end because I do have hope for all of us, but it requires us to meet and to talk. And while my YouTube channel really isn't a space normally for that discussion, because I don't think that explicitly talking about these things changes minds, I do want to be present and encouraging in these hard times to those of us that do care about each other and do believe in the rule of law. Like, they're just I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. There's so many things. So I'm not gonna, we have projects for other channels, other modes of discussion where that might be more appropriate in the future. But yeah, just wanted to let you know you're not alone. Thanks to Ernesto de Jesus, today's patron producer, and all my patrons for making it possible for me to start my life over here in Paris in particular. They've been a part of that journey, some of them, since the beginning, and I really appreciate that. And if you'd like to support my channel, you can do so for as little as $1. We opened that tier back up recently. We've had some changes on Patreon, and I need to make a little video explaining that here sometime soon to my patrons, who I think are aware of most of them, but there are a couple little things that have changed. And of course, thank you so much just for being here and watching, no matter what. I hope you have a wonderful day, wherever it is you are. Keep heart, don't lose the faith, and I will see you bright and early one of these mornings, sometime soon, from Paris.